Welcome. I'm your host, Dustin, and joining us today is the founder and owner of Independent America Pictures, as well as a director, writer, and actor, and it's Anthony E. Moran. So we're going to be talking about indie horror and the latest film, Let Us In. Anthony, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's great to be here, man. Shout out to everybody in Salem, Massachusetts.
Hell
And
yeah.
yeah, and I'm so glad to be on the podcast, and I can't wait to talk to you about it, man. I'm glad you dug the film too, man.
Yeah, it was a blast, and I really can't wait to start like picking your brains about everything. But one thing I always love to do that like allows me and everybody who listens and watches to really get to know the person that I'm talking to is to kind of go all the way back to the beginning, like where the love of either filmmaking came from or the love of horror or anything like that. Like where did all this kind of like stem from for you?
Great question, man. So we were one of the first people to have a VHS player on our block, like straight up. I remember we went on like a winter night. I was born in '79. My mom was 17 when she had me, and then my dad was 19. Both of them were true blue horror fans. My dad, I have pictures of him. He looks just like Jody and Phantasm, and he had that same Cuda but in orange. And I remember they went to the drive-in, and it was what was it? God Told Me To with Phantasm. And my dad and my mom brought their orange Cuda. But anyways, when I was at a very early age, when we got the VHS player, my dad would go. I remember there was like only one VHS store around, and he went there, and then he'd find the other ones. But he would bring, and now keep in mind, so I'm like 3, 4 at this time, and he's like 22, 3, now. So he's bringing home films like everything you can think of, Toxic Avenger, you know what I
Oh
mean?
wow, yeah.
Yeah, Final Exam, Nightmare on Elm Street. And so I just support Andy. Really, he had all these books because my dad is the biggest horror fan from back in the '60s and '70s when he was a kid. So he had all his famous monsters magazines, a
Oh
bunch of them,
nice.
and then he had a lot of the hardcover books. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, like the '60s, '70s hardcover horror books. And so a lot of them had a lot of Hammer stuff in there. So I was a
Yeah.
huge Hammer film. It's kind of funny not to trail off, but I had like the biggest Hammer collection in the world for like a little kid at like age 12. No
That's
joke.
awesome.
Yeah, I had like a kingdom of Hammer stuff. But long story short, so yeah, I was into it at a very early age. I had no viewing restriction, unless I got like super scared by the stuff that my parents were like, yo, like Halloween. I remember one time, and I want to touch on this too real quick. I also was very influenced. My dad would let me spend or stay up all night with him, right? So he worked weird hours for being an engineer at Ford. So like he would work days, and we could stay up all night or whatever shift it was. And like after midnight, they always have. I remember the first time I watched Dracula AD 1972,
Oh nice.
And then one other thing, shouts out to Thriller Double Feature, which was a big show on Saturday in Detroit. And they always had, horror films throughout the day. So every Saturday, then with the renting, then with my parents just constantly into it and being young, I just was like, damn. And I always knew I wanted to make films. I mean, just like from the earliest age.
That's awesome, dude. And like I'm a father too, so my son right now is 5, and he loves horror. I mean, I try to get him to watch movies, and then sometimes he's like, no, but he likes to watch a lot of YouTube of people like making costumes, and he's very artsy and he draws a lot. So he stems from like the horror aspect more from the art angle of it, and like how what it takes to create like creatures and stuff like that. So that's really cool to hear like you growing up as well, really in there in the weeds with horror. And me personally, I've said this so many times on the show, but I always like to let my guests know. I was scared of everything growing up, like so scared. I didn't break out of my shell until maybe like I always forget if it's like 10 or 11 years old, and it was Halloween 1978. Michael over here, who is, always there, he broke me out of my shell and like made me really start loving horror. It scared the hell out of me, and I love that feeling. So now, as a horror fan, I love watching, like the crazy things and crazy movies with blood and gore and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
my active thing is to seek out that one film that truly terrifies me, that
And let me cut
really
in real
makes me
quick.
scared.
Let me cut off just real quick because I want to stay on that point. So it's really funny. Remember how I said that my parents, unless I got truly scared by it. So
Yeah.
it's so funny you said Halloween 1978. That has been a recurring thing in my whole life. Actually, you can't see it. I got the dowel behind me, actually, that I bought in 1998. You know, the big talking dowels in the
Wow.
box right to the right. I got a big collection. But what I was going to say is, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No, you're good.
with Halloween 1978, I have to say, it's just a pivotal film in so many ways. I dug it in so many ways. But here's the thing. That was the first time I ever, because I was scared by a lot of stuff too, even though I watched horror films. But I mean, there was like a big kidnapping scare when I was younger. Do you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
stuff like that, you know, like we were scared about like the boogeyman being, you know, down the street. We had this old place, like there was a killer supposedly, and it was called the Shoe Tree at his house. And this guy supposedly really did kill. And supposedly, when he killed people, he would throw their shoes on a tree. So people like skaters and punk rockers would go by and they throw their shoes on the tree, you know. But
Yeah.
this tree was so big and it had all these shoes, but at the very top, it had like old shoes from like the 30s and 40s. And the rumor
Wow.
was, yeah, it was the
Wow.
Shoe Tree, and a cool name for a song. But I was going to say one other thing. The Shoe Tree, the rumor was is that the killer, if his garage was open, he was home and you were good, and if it was closed, he was on the prowl. So I was always scared of shit like that. But here's the thing: I wasn't scared by like the Hammer and the Freddy the Horror. But here's how the first time I ever remember. I mean, I remember it like yesterday. So we had that show, Thriller Double Feature, but they didn't show Halloween. I remember the only show that showed it on TV was Shocktober, and that
Oh
was a
yeah.
Halloween show that was only for like 2 weeks right before Halloween on Channel 20 in Detroit. And I remember, man, the first time I was with my mom, this is a really wild story. So Halloween 2 comes on in the beginning, okay, and it's just the beginning. And my mom's like, oh, you think you can watch it? And I was like, and she was like, oh, you watched Friday the 13th Part 2 like a couple weeks ago. So she's like, I think you're good. That beginning of 2, because you know how it's like the end of the first one and everything,
Yep.
right when it got to the point of, he's getting shot off, it falls off. My mom is just like, ooh, blah, blah, blah. But let's how funny the story is. So she's like, oh, I got to go pick your dad up from work. She's like, I got to take you to grandma's house. It wasn't far. So she takes me down there, right? And like later on that night, by the time I got to my grandma's, they replayed the movie.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
So now my mom at the same night shut it off. So now, like a couple hours later, okay, I'm at my grandma's and my uncle, who's a Detroit cop, comes out and he was watching it. I come in the door and my mom goes to my grandma, don't let him watch that. We were just watching it. What the fuck, Excuse my language. So she
Oh, you're good.
leaves. And oh, cool. And but I don't like to put a bad look for the kids and everything. You know what I mean? I try not to swear, but let me say this much so to end what we're talking about. So it's so funny. My mom opens the door, sees it on TV. She goes, we were just watching this. I don't want him to watch this because he gets scared. Don't show him anything that he's going to be scared of.
Yeah.
She leaves, and my uncle just leaves to go to work. And my grandma goes, think you should be watching this? He goes, let him watch it. Dig that.
It's
I
always the
ended up
grandparents,
watching.
man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, but I watched at that point where the movie was at. This is how I have a photographic memory. It's really wild. I can remember this point of the movie. So I saw the end of the movie, but this was the part when I got to my grandma's house when she looks across the street and all the lights are off, Jamie Lee Curtis, and she has to walk across. And I know it's played out, not played out the movie, but I know it's played out because other people say it. But man, I'd have to say, in any movie period, the scariest scene I've ever seen is when he's like behind Lindsay going, Lindsay, and he looks in the window and John Carpenter uses the music from The Thing, you know what I mean? Terror Beyond Space. And I love how he uses the music from another movie for like his movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I love how Michael Myers kicks open the door, he's carrying Annie, and he shuts the door in the light. The kid's just like, what the fuck? And then to comment one last thing, yeah, that last 10, 15 minutes of Halloween. That's the scariest footage I feel it's ever been laid down to. So it was so cool to hear you say that.
Hell yeah. The movie really impacted me a lot, and I watch all of those movies so much, even though it's a franchise that, has its ups and downs like all the other ones. But just those first 2 films, especially the first one, they affected me so much that I love it. I love it
Imagine
because
they didn't exist. I never say shit like that, but imagine that film didn't exist.
yeah, I know.
It's like, just
It's
to say, horror was around me, but there would probably be a lot of horror that, it's so funny to hear John Carpenter too say, no, they go, how do you feel about it? And he goes, all I see is a rubber knife. I've never noticed, you know what I mean?
John
I guess it's
Carpenter. Dude, he's a character, man. He's a
He's a
character.
character. One other thing I want to say too, a lot of people, I was talking about this the other day too, but a lot of people dissed, because I remember these movies came out. My dad was young, and he was going to see them, and he'd give me the Fangoria, because magazine stores were big. But I was talking about this, but I want to jump into Halloween 4 real quick. But to just say this other part, to segue into Halloween 4, at the time, most people now, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is regarded as like top tier, which
Yeah.
it is to me. But back then, no one dug it. You know what I'm saying? Like, believe it or not, it was just like thumbs down when it came out. People didn't get the Breakfast Club or anything. So when Halloween 4 came out, I mean, I remember we were so excited to see that, and people didn't dig it, And now looking back, it's not that I don't watch, 1 and 2. I always put those on in the Halloween season. I watch them all year round. But I'm into 4 again. You know what I mean? And then bits and pieces of 5. But 4 is just tough as hell. Lady, Jesus ain't got nothing to do with this place. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just so else. I mean, that whole beginning in 4. But yeah, it's just really crazy, though. That's why I mentioned T2. It's or Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I don't want people to think I'm talking about Terminator. But yeah, that's why these films sometimes, they might not be as much loved in the very beginning, and then they catch momentum, and blah, 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 But yeah, how do you like 4 or what?
Yeah, I mean, I love all of them pretty much equally. I mean, except for the first two, I hold those ones really, really high. But yeah, no, 4 and 5, I really, really, really dug those ones. And then obviously we get into like the other, like the Thorn trilogy and like all that stuff that's going on. I love them all because I grew up like binge watching those all the time every season, and I started watching them throughout the year. So yeah, they hold a very like important part in my life when it comes to horror cinema and cinema in general, because I feel like without Halloween, with it being as indie as it is, we wouldn't be having films like yours that are really like grassroots DIY all the way straight down through and through with doing things any way you possibly can. John Carpenter really helped pave a way for independent filmmakers to kind of just do what they want and say fuck you to the man and all this stuff, and like I'm gonna make what I want to make, and that's just how it's gonna be. So that's why I really appreciate this film that you allowed me to watch, and now starting to get to know you more, and reading up other reviews that people have talked about this or have seen it, and it's just like it's great, and I love what you're doing. And I know that you said you have another film coming on the way. That's
the Evil
featuring...
1%, the sequel, AK Let Us Out, but it takes place from that night. We'll get into this later, but I was going to say, like, no, like, I don't want to say because Evil Dead 2 is like that, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of the same story. This isn't. It just kind of ties in what happened in the beginning. I'll give you some things on this podcast. I try to do that on each one. I'll give you some stuff that I haven't talked about on this one when we get into it. But yeah, Evil 1% is the sequel. All the characters in the movie will be back in some way or another, and then the story gets explained more. No, I don't tell how the infected people. I don't call them zombies. I call them infected people.
Yeah, like
Fulci. And Fulci always called them nice. Like, they're not zombies, they're infected people. But let me just say this. Yeah, the Evil 1% is more, I would say, like Let Us Sin has been called, and I like this, kind of like Last House on the Left meets Night of the Living Dead, but the guys are bikers. So, if you take that Night of the Living Dead apocalypse look when we break down the film, I was going to say that I'd like to look at Let Us In more like Night of the Living Dead, but with this next one, Evil 1%, it's going to be more like Dawn of the Dead. And when I say epic, I don't mean like, like I'm overshooting my wad or something like that. No, I mean like, this is very thought out, and I don't care if I talk about my ideas or if someone steals them or something like that, because what I'm about to do and the way I'm going to execute them, I don't think other people could. But let me just say a couple things. Like in this next one, I really like the Argento cut of Dawn of the Dead. You know what I mean? And if you Google that on YouTube, and it has a lot more biker scenes, a little bit biker. But yeah, in this one, like, okay, I'll give you a couple little things. So, my wife plays the girl with the black hair that gets her head ripped off, Meg, okay?
Okay, yeah.
So in the second one, and I'm going to drop a bombshell that nobody knows. I don't know if I told on the other podcast. I've been on so many recently, but do you know Drew? Drew Mark? My boy Drew Mark.
Yeah, he's a real good friend of mine. I just brought him out for a screening of a Pool Party Massacre.
Just there. Yeah, he was just there. Well, he is going to play Meds, and it's kind of a takeoff from the Hell's Angel Magoo that was in Hell's Angel '69. But he
Okay.
wears a doctor's lab coat with his motorcycle colors over it, and it's really cool. The doctor's lab coat has patches all over it. Then he's got the biker colors, but he carries like a leather bag with a lot of different weapons, and it ain't hokey like the way we're gonna how he's naturally funny. The movie's still gonna have a dark, like serious thing, a dark vibe, serious vibe. I like that
Yeah.
about Let Us In. Anyways, just to touch on this and we'll go back. But for Evil 1%, my wife gets her head taken off. And when I said all the characters come back, they come back like you don't think. So here's one scene. So me and Drew, and the sheriff, we get, actually, I'm not in this part, but Drew and a couple other people, they go to a coroner's office to get some stuff and weapons and stuff like that. And they're in the body bag, and it explains them in the movie. They go unzip. Actually, I'm going to see. What am I talking about? But we go unzip the body bag, and it's my wife in there, Meg. Just like, I think, what is it in? I'm just having a brain fart. Like Return of the Living Dead, I think is it part 1 or 2, with like brains take away the pain.
Yep.
So
Yep,
it's my wife with her head off, and the way we're doing it looks amazing. And she's like, "Me, don't you love me anymore? Take me for a ride." And I'm just like, "All right, I'm going on, baby. It's to hell." You know what I mean? And we just do her in. But there's double decapitations on motorcycles. We're also ending the film, not to get too much in Evil 1%. We'll go back, but in Evil 1%, to go back to Halloween, we were talking about, you said you liked a lot of them. A lot of people dog the new Halloween. But let me just say this. There were some pieces in that, because I like being edgy. I like doing things different, and not to quote Quentin Tarantino, always badass, but he goes, "Man, what do you want to make? A film that's been made before, or do you want to do a film, and it could be of a genre, but put your own twist on it, make it
Yeah,
unique?"
for sure.
Well, I kind of like, and I'm going to jump around, but it all connects. I like how the new Halloween, that scene where him and Michael Myers, the kid, and him go to that doctor, you know what I mean? The house, and kill them together. That was just so edgy and badass. And then when he was with the girl, he jumps off the roof, you know what I mean? She's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Seeing if I'm invincible." That's the kind of writing I like. Now, when we go to Let Us In, it's not really a biker film, is it? There's not a lot of riding. It's blah, 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 but it has an Evil Dead feel, Last House Left, all that shit. Well, Evil 1%, what I'm really digging is we got a lot of unique kills, like the double decapitation on motorcycles, the homage to Return of the Living Dead one, pay homage to a lot of movies. But to go back to that Quentin Tarantino quote, I wanted Evil 1% to be unique. So in the 3 acts, the second act's real pivotal. It's a big LSD biker party love-in. And it's, it's got a real 60s counterculture vibe. And it gets overrun with zombies. That's where the double decapitations are. But the third act, I thought it was very clever. And it goes along with what, that quote I said about Quentin. The third act in Evil 1% is going to be very claustrophobic in the woods in a cabin like Evil Dead, and the bikers have a stand up. There's a real cool scene where Drew pulls they're getting so much overrun. There's a scene where they got to board the window that keeps coming undone, and Drew just pulls a zombie in. Right, you're gonna try. I haven't told anybody this on any show, and Drew pulls a zombie in. And when they broke in that corner office, he stole a lot of drugs,
Of course,
and he just he shoots a zombie up with morphine, you know what I mean?
Oh, man,
and the
that's
zombie
awesome.
is dead, but it's just and then he locks it into a room. But I don't want to give away how Drew dies. But what I'm getting at is, I tell people that I'm glad you're laughing, and we're going to do it in a serious way, though, But I let it do stuff like I haven't seen, like another kill in the movie. And I don't care if people are listening, try to take my ideas and try to do it yourself. It's like touche, I know healthy competition is cool. It's, I feel like execution is everything. Someone else might execute it different than I would, but I'm very confident in this film and what I'm going to be able to do. And so let me end it with this. There's also stuff like I've never seen this in a movie before. When the biker party gets overrun and the zombies are everywhere and these bikers are taking them out before they get to the cabin for the last standoff. It's really cool because my character Reed suplexes a zombie onto a parking meter. Do you know what I mean? And the zombie falls down and he's going crazy. He can't move. That's why I did it, So he isn't dead. And then I'm using found objects like this woman's in the zombie when they're all running away. there's a scene where, the girl's trying to start the car. One of the bikers puts the zombie's head rig into the fan belt. You know what I mean? So there's just a lot of cool kills. A kid getting killed on a Schwinn 60 Stingray, those bicycles.
Man.
Yeah.
Hell
So
yeah,
a lot
dude.
of cool bikes in this one too. But I thought it was very cool to end it claustrophobic, pay homage to my Michigan fellow brethren, Sam Raimi and shit. And I want to pay homage to a lot, but it's just not a road biker movie. And I don't think Let Us In is.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, everything, like, I feel like with your style, from watching this one, it's so fucking rock and roll that I love it so much. As a a metalhead myself, and I love music. I'm a drummer as well, like on my part time, so I'm like very into music. And also my co-host, whenever he has time, or from the UK, Dean of the Dead, makes hot sauces, but he's also a rocker, and he's super DIY, and we always love watching films like this from people who are coming up from really nothing and like putting all they have into this, like whether it be like I got to crowdfund a film just to get this going, or I'm gonna put $100 into this, whatever I have, to get my vision made, and hopefully someone's gonna like it. And with this one, it's so fun. It's less than 90 minutes, so it's like if you're looking for
2 minutes.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the length later, but keep going. I'm taking what you're saying.
So like if you're looking for a really quick bite, if you want to watch something that's different, that really brings some hard-hitting things, like the effects in this film are really, really awesome for it being a low-budget crowdfunded film. The score is good, and I think you were using Epidemic, right? Music?
Mark, who I edited with, that was a generic thing. Now, okay, Slasher Day wanted to do. Let me jump back and say one thing. It's crazy, dude, because I am so I just have them all over the place. But just to go back to what you said about rock and roll. So I have a band. I sing and play guitar, and I have tons of albums out. And when I say tons, you go look them up. I started in 2003. I've toured everywhere with a band called Friends of Dennis Wilson, which is my band. So it's like psychedelic garage rock, like real heavy garage rock. So I have, all my shit's on vinyl, and I recorded every album on reel to reel. I produced every album on reel to reel. So I always had this DIY aesthetic. Do you dig what I'm saying? So although I went to a really good college where I was doing broadcast and communication and film there, in a television station and doing film. But yeah, right when I graduated from my college in Milwaukee, went to Marquette University with Dwayne Wade. It's like a private Catholic school. I got an English scholarship. It's not that I really wanted to go to a Catholic school. Do you know what I mean? It was that was a whole different trip. But and no distant Catholic, I'm just saying it was more of a preppy environment. But right when I graduated from 2003 till and I haven't stopped. If you go look it up. So yeah, there's tons of Friends of Dennis Wilson vinyls. And so that's so crazy. I really like you. You're very perceptive. So you could sense that rock and roll feel. And now here, let me just say another thing about that. I told you right when we're talking, before we did the countdown. I want to thank the people who helped me. Guess what? Yeah, that's me, and that's my vision, and my vibe with the rock and roll. But dig this. My wife, Rebecca, who I've been with 20 years, she is into music, does stuff with me. But wait till I go down the line. The Afro biker,
Yep.
Afro biker, dude, he's fucking legend. He played in the Detroit Cobras, and then he was in this legendary band called Paik, Paik. And when I say they're legendary, like you can go type them in, and they're in Times Square in New York. You know what I mean? But I mean they're just so big. So he's a legend. Now he's in Dark Red. But then Timothy Jenkins, who does all the IP. Shout out to you, Tim Jenkins. Shout out to you, Rob Smith too. But I was going to say all the cats who were involved with rock and roll, like Tim Jenkins, who plays the Chainsaw Biker. Did you know that's Tim Jenkins from Acid Witch?
No.
The band Acid Witch, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
When you told me who did the art for this, I was like, really? That's awesome.
Yeah. He's done all the IAP art and stuff like that. Here's a toy right here. There's two of them of the chainsaw right here.
Dude, that's so rad.
And then here's the alternate. He did this artwork too. So here's like some crazies looking art for the chainsaw, and they're really detailed and bloody.
That's so
cool.
sick, dude.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. We even got Evil 1%. We got tons of cool merch. We got Evil 1%, Evil 1% patches. says this film should be played loud. Support film debate. Right. So Tim, so Tim has records out. Tim is toured, and we're on a similar scene in Detroit music, and like so everybody in that film is rock and roll. You know what I mean? And Mark too, who the cinematographer. Shout out to Mark Larson, my dog. And then to jump back what we were saying. So I like to go sometimes, I want to go with what I feel, but I love when people throw ideas. It ain't a one-man show ever. And you got to know as a director when to take someone's advice, incorporate into what you're doing, or just be like, no, this is what we're doing. But check this out. I'm glad I listened to my gut on the one thing. The sound was incredible. The soundtrack, right? Like
Hell
just it was so eerie. Well, my whole thing was I did the soundtrack with friends of Dennis Wilson. I used the name, but it was just me and my drummer. But I did the Strong Arm. I only have 2 feature-length films. My other film is like a grindhouse combat shock rolling thunder thing, Death Wish thing called Strong Arm. Here's the VHS right here. But I have another slipcover, and the artwork Tim did is amazing. We have toys for Strong Arm. Here's Strong Arm right here. I hand make all these VHS. Here's a colored Strong Arm VHS, but it's just badass. Where is it? So yeah, here's a Strong Arm. I make all these decals and design them. I like the big Rated X we just made, me and my partner AC, the tire, the Hot Wheel tire with the AIP logo. But with Strong Arm, I did people really dug the film score that I did. But after Strong Arm, I just was like, that's why I don't want to lose the serious vibe in Evil 1%. And I want to like have Drew be funny still. But here's the thing. I feel as soon as you're taken out of the element sometime, that's why I feel like CGI doesn't really work. You know what I mean? Because your mind just knows like that no matter what, and I feel like I love the old Hammer fucking painted castles. You know what I mean? More than,
dude, as practical as you can get, that's me through and through.
Yeah, so basically what I was going to say about the sound was, Josh Schaefer from Lunch Meat ended up putting out a limited edition 50 of the VHS, but
that's awesome,
he goes,
dude.
right, yeah, that was really cool. That was right away after the premiere. They sold out, but I have red VHS too and stuff. Did you get the red VHS? White?
I have the white one.
The white ones are rare.
Yeah, so I got that, and I obviously I have the barf bags, and I got the DVD so here. I popped in the DVD. Like you sent me the screener, so I watched the screener, and then I was like, I need to watch the DVD. So I popped the DVD in, and dude, mint quality. Like seriously, for like what you're doing, and bringing out physical media as well, I think is such a smart move. And you're like, hey, just take it, And I'm like, that's great because I love social media. I love it. Like physical media and everything like that. And like I have other VHSs. I'm friends, actually pretty close friends to Broke Horror Fan, who does a lot of stuff with Witter Entertainment, who does like all these VHS releases and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen those before. I love those, man. I know exactly.
Definitely.
I love the whole culture.
If you need like other people to help you with doing releases with physical media, definitely reach out to Witter Entertainment. He's amazing, and I have nothing but great things to say about.
Well, here's the thing. I'm trying to be mean. God bless him. But that's the whole thing with IP. And I'm not going to give a figure, but if I told you how much I've sold in the movie premiered last October 15th. And so it just is a year old now, and it's about to stream on Tubi in a couple weeks.
That's awesome, dude. Congrats.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I told you how much VHS and DVDs I've sold tangibly with all the cons and the screenings I've done and how much I do every day, you would be shocked and fall off the floor. I was offered a lot, and I don't brag about this. So what I was going to say is I pride myself. Everything is handmade, numbered. I didn't number yours or whatever. Them are the ones I just gave you. But yeah, the reason why I can give them away is I sell so many. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I pride myself on making those. Like I said, I have a book coming out. I can't really get into it. If I told you what it was, people would be like, oh my God, I never thought of that. You could kind of guess what it is, but explains the whole journey. So yeah, I make everything. Tim hand paints all that art. Then I have my boy AC. We design all our stickers. So the silhouettes, look at those stickers on each shows. The Michigan Horror, the Sport Detroit Films, the Sport Films Made Detroit Hot Wheels. So I'm constantly designing those. That Hot Wheel logo, the tire, is a hoodie. Then look at, I have Evil 1% shirts right here. Check these bad boys out.
That's
But no, I
sick.
pride myself. Yeah, oh yeah, and they have the Japanese. It says "Let us sound Japanese." But here's the thing. I guess we are in competition now, but we're not. What I was going to say is, now I've been doing this since 2014, and Strong Arm kind of it played at Summer Wasteland, but it got canceled because of COVID. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, yep.
So I just went right in to Let Us In. My point is, I've been doing this VHS my whole life, and so yeah, I really pride myself on every one of those VHSs, handmade by me. I have a factory in my basement that looks like a fucking factory, and I own more combos than anybody. You know what I mean? And more VHS. I mean, probably shit. So my whole point is, I feel what I'm doing is special because I'm a director, filmmaker. I like the way you gave me the intro, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, I
No
pride
worries.
myself on not only directing, writing the films. I'm not going to act in every film. That Reed thing was just, you know what I mean. I'm going to be an evil 1%, but I like to act, but more so I like to direct. So what I was going to say is to end on the tangible media part. I was at VHS Fest 7. It was incredible at Mahoning Drive-In. I want to do VHS Fest 8 next year. But yeah, I was at a bunch this year, a bunch of stuff, last 2 years, a bunch of cons and stuff. And I really pride myself being a director and making that and giving it to the fans. And that seems to be my thing, because there's other people. I'm not saying there isn't other people, like shout out to Bloodsick Productions, my boy Bruce. Do you know what I mean?
Hell yeah, dude.
There's other people who put out their stuff, like Shay. Shout out to Shay, my good friend from Black Video. But like, I don't think there's a lot of people. I know there are people out there that direct and put their own films out, but I just think it's special that I'm a director and putting my own films out, and I'm giving you, and they're made by my hand. And another thing, like the DVD, those barf bags were printed by my wife here in the house. The DVD I get dead stock cases from the Salvation Army and estate sales. So that DVDs look brand new, but they're recycled. The VHS cases, I'm not going to give away my secret, but they're 80s ones. I use all dead stock original 80s sealed blanks. So yeah, I really pride myself. I will need help eventually with a Blu-ray is what I'm going to have to do. Does your boy that
Oh,
you mentioned do those,
I don't
or only
know. I
VHS?
think it's just strictly VHSs, but
Okay, I'm strictly VHS, and then I do the DVDs. The only thing that's outsourced is the lettuce and tangible like DVD disc.
oh yeah, yeah,
But everything
dude.
else, yeah, I really pride my. And one day I might. I can't say. I gotta say this. I wonder how long I can do it because of the materials and everything. And
Yeah.
but I was maybe one day it might get too big to where I do have to get someone like your boy or someone to do it. But right now I really pride myself on that.
That's awesome, dude. Like you really are, and I even have this like written down because I was gonna ask you and like your thoughts on this, but you really are like the spirit of DIY, doing
Oh,
all of this stuff yourself.
yeah,
Like you are reminding me so much of my friend Dean over at the UK because he
I
does
want to meet.
horror theme hot sauces and he does everything himself. He cooks everything in home. He does all the big conventions over in the UK. He does collabs with movies and he makes like special hot sauces and beers and a bunch of other stuff. He's a great guy, and I need to get you guys like linked up
We have
somehow.
to think about. I love that you say that, man. I get such a good vibe from you. It's so weird that like the proximity. Because sometimes I'll hear people diss, social media, which I love, but I'll hear people diss. You know what I mean? Like, say this is an interpersonal communication because we're not close to each other. Man, I can feel your race coming right to me right now. Thank you for saying that about the spirit of DIY. Sometimes, like I was saying this at a horror fest. I have a spiel, and it's just like people say, "Oh, you're from Detroit, you came all this way," and I have my little spiel. I'm like, "Hey, I directed the film. I'm from Detroit. These are all handmade." But I'm always afraid or embarrassed to brag, right? And someone goes, "No, that's what you're here for. You have a booth, brag." So what I was going to say is, it's very touching that you say that, dude, because dig this, a lot of people didn't even get the IEP logo, the nod to Al Adamson and Roger Corman. That took me. I've been doing this since 2014, since I have had the IEP LLC, and since I've been doing it. And it isn't an overnight thing. And so your kid, to go back to what you said, that's so cool. He could be the next Rob Bowden. You know what I mean? And
Hell yeah, dude.
because you said he's in the artistic side, and like I really like. It's so cool that he's having all these influences by you, because like there were these guys. It was like this older guy. I don't know if it was the older guy and his boyfriend, or an older guy and his boyfriend, and then like this other guy and his wife. But they did oh, a lot of that Hammer wardrobe. Do you know what I mean? And their story is really cool. Then come to find out, like Captain Kronos and a lot of those indoor houses, they were like houses right down the street from Bray and stuff. But what I'm getting to, when I didn't know a lot about the guys who did the wardrobe and the lady, but when I started reading it, it's just so cool to do things. And what I'm getting at is whether I'm making the VHS and whether I'm doing, you know, or whether your son's, you know, behind the camera making wardrobe, you're doing
Hell yeah.
something. So with the DIY thing, a lot of people, like some of my peers will be like, yo, dude, they'll give me credit and they're like, damn, Tony, you're always on the grind. But they'll be like, sometimes they don't even believe how they believe it because they see it, but they're like, God, I can't believe how much you have out, how much you're constantly creating every day. My whole point is if you want to do that, and I'm not at the top of the heap. I'm not really even where I want to be yet. I'm so happy where I'm at. I never, because, you know, back when you're a kid, because we're in, you know, the horror and the toys,
Yeah.
I would have died to have toys like I have nowadays. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, I would have died. I'm so proud of what I'm doing. So sometimes you have to stop and, you know, say, wow, great, I did a good job. What I'm really getting at is that, you know, I just really want to keep pushing it. And the way I'm able to do all this is I do nothing else. I'm constantly working. If I'm not working, I'm just running 3 miles. Then I'm back doing the script and I'm multitasking, walking the house, the iPad, doing sales, shipping lady come over, talking at the same time to the, you know, the cinematographer, the sound. It's just a nonstop thing. So if you want to do something, you want to do it right, or you're really into it, my suggestion is, you know, really got to do it full
Yeah.
time and be out.
I agree with that. And like with this show, I've been doing this podcast for nearly 3 years now. And I do have a day job, but most of my time whenever I
I
have
know
it.
they told me you were a hitman. I don't know how you haven't been busted yet. You know, I mean, they told me you were a hitman. I mean, you just blatantly talk about this too, right? But you're in Canada. You only kill people in the U.S. right now. Funny joke. Right? So look at
Yeah,
all
no.
the stuff. You don't have a day job.
Yeah. So like I balance this like all on my free time, but like I do all the editing, I do all the social media on there. So like I understand the grind. And like it's just so funny like when I talk to people like you, or even like my co-host. I met him through the show. He was the first guest I have ever had on. He's a great guy. And like you saying like you do everything, and like you don't take time away to do anything else because you're so into this. And that's what it's like with him with his hot sauces. Like is he's bonkers. And he just put out an anthology film too, with a bunch of local filmmakers and stuff like that. He just put out that played in a festival. So it's like it's so awesome to see that there's other people out there that really have a drive, and for me to feel the drive coming off of you while either holding your VHS,
Yeah,
watching
man.
watching your movie, or just talking to you. I feel like these talks are very, very important for other filmmakers out there, or people who want to become a filmmaker. And that's why I love talking more to independent, you know, filmmakers, and just anybody in that's more independent than, you know, the big wigs out there, because
Yeah.
it really helps people realize like I can do this. Everybody has a phone. Like there's so many people that don't realize like you don't need to go out and buy all this equipment. You can make a really short film with just your phone, you know? And like I think that's one thing
Yeah,
that
you can.
people need to start realizing too. Like you don't need to go and get all this equipment, but to realize
But
that.
here's the deal. You can get the right equipment too.
Yeah.
Like you can go get a Black Magic 4K. Here's the thing. You know, some people are like, I need this. You know, I need my hot cocoa before I go to bed. What do you need and what do you want to do? And what is your vision and how are you going to get there? I go without certain things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That other people might have. Do I have toilet paper on a spool? Fuck yeah, I have toilet paper, but I'm talking about, you know, do I really go on vacation? No, but yeah, I'm traveling constantly to fests and cons, but it's like a job. But I love it. To me, it's like a
Hell yeah,
vacation.
man.
But my point is that yeah, dude, like your guy who's doing the hot sauce. By the way, was the film fest he was in? Because you said he was from UK. Was that film fest in UK?
Yeah, he premiered it at Weekend of the Dead. So it was the
I got to learn more about a lot more of the film fest. That's my Achilles heel. I only had Let Us In one and a couple. I wanted to do the Italy one, and it just that I really lacked on that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would love to get Let Us In shown. In one of those film festivals. Oh, real quick about the camera stuff, real quick. So dig this. That's another thing. Okay, so like some people I feel okay, well, you just want to get like if you do your phone, okay, and you're starting out, you want to make each project better. But nowadays, I'm telling you, I know because I'm a prime example. I Let Us In was filmed in 4K. Don't you think it looks really good?
It looks great, dude. The colors
Yeah,
pop.
and even it's gonna look even better. So what I was gonna say is that's a Black Magic camera. They got really like cheap, cool Godox lights for like 700, 500, 400. If you know what you're doing, you research it and you really, research it. Like, how am I gonna build this rig? It's not as expensive as it is. And if you cut some other bullshit out of your life, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Really, you could do it. So I say, like you have your kid, man, your 5-year-old yeah, maybe sometimes you don't want to buy them like $300 little mini Jordans because he might grow out of them or something, right? But with other things though, if he needs like a retainer, he needs it, right?
yeah,
Well, I feel like these films, unless you're like that creative and you're just doing SV or you do get your phone and you're that creative and you can do like the Rodriguez documentary, and I know people do shit with their phone. I'm not saying they don't. But I'm just saying, though, if you have the opportunity to do it the right way, you can and try to do it that
for
way.
sure.
Try to always do it right. And like, let's just say, I'm not saying Let Us In. I'm sure some people could pick apart like, like little things. Like, I had a guy offer me a Hollywood deal. This isn't no bullshit. I met with a lot of people, but this guy was actually one of my partners, my aunt who helps me with Independent American Pictures. This was a contact through him who I've known for years. I wasn't ready to contact him, but I didn't contact him. He was in town, we met, and he was just blown away at first. And then when we talked, it was just like, hey man, no, like I don't dig the facts. I'm like, what? That guy's world famous, my guy. Shout out to James Bell, And he was like, oh, you need a star in your movie, okay?
Of
And
course.
only though, we'll pay him like 8,500 because he'll do it as a favor from me, and he'll be there one day, but he can be seen. That's who'll sell it. And here's what I was like, no, dude, that will end up in the fucking dollar bin, right? And it will take away my integrity. And no, we're working. We have a couple people we've flown, but it's all Detroit cast and crew. And so dig this. I tried talking to him, and I go, look, man, like let's think outside the box. Hence, I go to Pittsburgh. I meet Drew. I already knew who he was. We never met. I fucking like him. I love him. We're cool. We linked up. He's a true artist. He wants to do even 1%. I knew of A&P, and then I saw pictures of him in Murder Size, but Murder Size hasn't come out. Now it's the #1 horror comedy on Tubi.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's such a good
and
movie.
look, yeah, and Drew's getting all these movies, and I wanted him before I even knew this. I only knew of him in Pool Party Massacre. But what I'm getting at is, he's a big name though, and so you don't need to get William Forsythe to play one scene in the movie. And I love
Yeah,
William Forsythe, but God bless William Forsythe. Sometimes are like better for humanity. Like what you don't do sometimes is really fucking important.
yeah,
So, anyways, Drew came around right when I turned down this big deal, and it was a big fucking deal. But here's the thing: it was the same old story. They wanted to change everything. They
of
didn't.
course. They want
You
creative
know,
control and they want to take that away from you, and I hate that. Hate
hate
that.
that because I want to work with people because I'm not stupid. I know that when someone like can make it a little bit better, do you know what I mean? And if they're really truly trying to help, but when someone's trying to help or they're just
Yeah.
fucking trying
Yep. For
to
sure.
insert themselves.
For sure. But yeah, man, you keep doing what you're doing, and you're gonna be on
Oh,
a very fast track with getting where you want to be. I mean, not to say that you aren't already there, because really, like after watching this, I'm so thrilled to watch what's gonna be coming out. And even before you said Drew is gonna be in your next film, I wanted to already watch this next film because of how great this one is. And I have some people I want you to reach out to. We'll talk after this as a
I
separate
can't
thing.
wait to talk to you. And I wanted to say this too. Like, we'll talk after, but me too. My connections. One thing, man. Oh man, I'm seeing it a lot more nowadays. But man, with the social media and everything, like, I feel it's in the human's DNA, and I'm not. I really truly feel it's not one of my qualities, but people seem to be jealous. It's like in our DNA. It's been
Yeah,
since the beginning of time. People are jealous of the neighbor next door. It's just in their DNA. when you're going through something, people kick when people are down. But what I found, and I'm not saying I'm special, I got tons of flaws. Man, I've always, and maybe it came from, the DIY shows I threw with my band or my, underground garage rock festivals an annual fest I did. And I really like the communal thing. And like when you really like hook people up and you just, you can do a lot. And it's just all about what you said. And so thank you so much for linking it up. Cause I know cats who are just like, you know what I mean? It's just, you know what I'm talking about. They don't
Yeah.
want to give you a hookup. They don't want to do anything. And
Yeah.
so it's really important to try to bring the next man up, or if two people are kindred spirits. And also too, man, people get weird around money too, right? And that's not what I'm in this for. But what I want to do is keep making more money so that I can keep making more products. I want
Of
people to have the
course.
best movies. Then I'm going to put out other people's movies. I got a big plan. But so what I'm getting at is, yeah, that's really cool what you said, and y'all need to link up, man.
Yeah, man. And you're awesome. And I really hope
You're awesome, dude.
when people listen to this, they're like, I gotta watch your movie now, because it's definitely something that everybody needs to see and to really feel like it feels like, a late 70s, early 80s film. It feels like a grindhouse film, and I really, really like
Yep.
that, with the way that scenes are shot, how like the effects are, how even like the dialogue is, and how the music is placed in certain areas, and camera placement also. Like everything in this, I feel it feels like you've been doing this for like ever. Like you like whatever mistakes you've made, like you've already like corrected them or whatever. And it's really, really awesome to see you going full force on this. And I really hope it inspires others to start picking up a camera or start writing, because I need more films like this. I really do.
I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless, except that that's what I want. And it's not so much just for the accolade from me. And it's so good to hear the hard work gets paid off and gets
Hell yeah,
recognized.
dude.
And then the fact that you said for more people to watch us, is like, yeah, I wanted to inspire more people. I'm not just saying that. And yeah, honestly, the way I look at things is like, yeah, sometimes there's like we talked about, that new Halloween, how, there were just a couple good scenes I liked in it. But I feel like it's either good or it's not sometimes. I mean, sometimes there's a middle thing. And what I was gonna say is like, even if I didn't direct Let Us In, it's I feel it's really cool. It's like I like to call it lightning in a bottle. And remember, I got a lot of pressure on me. I gotta make sure the next film, what's it's gonna be, it's gonna be badass. But I mean, anything you can't. I have a sense of urgency, and I don't want to stop any motion or progress. And so, yeah, I always feel like I fall off, not necessarily putting out something bad, but it's just I got that mindset of I do not want to put out anything bad.
That's a
So
good mindset to have, because at least you know like what you want to see, and you're like, I want to see this, so I need to make sure that I'm making it to the standard of myself, and that's what these films really are, or just art in general. Is it's always something for you. Obviously, you want other people to
oh yeah,
enjoy
yeah.
it, but like you always want it to be something that you would want to watch. You don't want to go and make something that you're like, that was really, really shitty, but I put it out anyway. Like I feel like a lot of people hold too much pressure to get other people's approval, when really it's more important about yourself, to make sure that you're doing this at the highest quality of yourself,
You
and
just said
to
keywords, not to cut you up, but if you're doing it the highest quality yourself, I mean, there has to be other factors that play too. But here's the thing: it really is true, karma and all that. I mean, if you don't want to believe it, but karma's real. But the thing is, though, is if you really do put in that high work, in the keywords you said, to get of the highest quality, it will pay off in the sense to where other people will see that.
oh
Like when
yeah.
they do see it, they'll see that, whoa, damn, they put out some, that's high quality. So, and it's really cool because a lot of people think out there like this, oh god, I don't even know if I should say this thing, but like, I had an idea for a movie called Grave School, Grave, Grave School, and it was like a final exam type thing. And Ken Foree wanted to do it. He didn't sign up or anything. I just talked to him. He was way into it. And I wrote half the script, well, pretty much the whole thing, but that's what I want to do. And then with the whole school shooting thing, I didn't want to do it, right? I remember I was talking to a person, okay, and I went to this con, and that's one thing I never did throughout my life, is ever go to cons. I've just been like, because I always had the most collection and blah, blah, blah. It was almost like I wanted to go to the Hammer ones when I was younger, but I never did. But long story short, I went to my first con, and So way while back. And so I was talking to this bigwig dude who he's one of the biggest social media guys in the world. He'll know who people probably know what I'm talking about. I don't know. But either way, I like threw some ideas at him. And I was like, hey man, I got this movie great. I was just like, first of all, I was just like, yeah, man. I was like, you put out this and this cool ass old movie. That's so cool. You got the rights to it. And I go, but hey, man, I was like, I know there's other, younger filmmakers, and I know that, you might not do that, but you should take a chance on me. I go, I got Ken Foree. I talked to him. I'm not saying Ken Foree's even going to remember me, but what I'm getting at, I don't want him to hear this. Be like, what motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? It's so fun though. I ain't bullshitting, but when I talked to this guy, I said, yeah, I got Ken Foree. I'm really into this grave school thing. Wait to hear the story. He goes, no, like he was like, no, dude, and he listened to what I had to say, and he basically was like, dude, you don't have any talent, and like that's what he said in so many words. And when you hear the end of this, you'll be like, oh, okay, I understand. So then I was like, my wife was right there, and I go, yeah, my wife's got a really cool idea. We put our own vinyls out through our band and stuff. And I go, my wife really wants to do a compilation called Killer Cuts. And it could have like all the songs, like the beginning song of Hell Night, the opening
Yeah.
song, then one of the songs from October Blood, and then a Rock and Roll Nightmare song, and just other songs, like the first song in Killer Party, you know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah,
he looks
Killer
at it
Party,
and goes,
man.
it's,
Hell yeah.
oh, I love, oh, that's what's his name? That director from William Freud. He's one of my favorites. But to finish the story, the guy goes, no, I don't dig that idea, blah, 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 right? So I wanted to do this con here in Detroit, right? And I had a plan before I put the movie out. And remember, I got jacked with strong arm with COVID. So we do this con. And the day before, there's a guy running his booth. And my parents and aunt and uncle, they had this they had a punk rock clothing store my whole life, and it was like vintage, and it was a skateboard store. It was open from 1982 to 2004. So
Wow.
we always had like like Misfits and Mike Ness coming in, and then like Dee Dee Ramone hanging out and shit, and then we had like famous people working there, like all these bands on Sub Pop. And so what happened was, this guy who was running his booth was in this like legendary 80s, 90s. They're like, really big. They're still around. I forget their name. I wasn't really into them, but he had just gotten back from Japan the week before. But he knew me because of Cat's Man. He goes, Tony, is that you? And he was at this booth. And I go, where's so-and-so? The guy who told me I had no talent, right? And I go, because I have a movie, And he goes, hey, man, and we're talking. And he was like, yeah, your movie sounds great, this and that. He goes, bring it by before you leave tonight. And then when I was leaving, he goes like, Tony, and I'm not trying to sound cocky, but he goes, yeah, remember though, you're gonna have a tough time because there's so much stiff competition out there. Like, there's just so much competition nowadays. So don't plan on anything happening. I gave him my stuff. Then my wife and I went up to the hotel. I waited, and at the elevator door, my wife goes down to get her coffee, and the dude's there who told me no talent 12, 15 years ago. And he goes, yo, man, where's your husband at? Or where's Anthony Moran? And she goes, he's in the other elevator coming down. I come down, and she was like, I was the police or something. And he's like, are you Anthony? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you're Anthony Moran. I'm like, yeah, what's the deal? And I didn't recognize him because I don't want to give it away because some people know what I'm talking about, but I didn't recognize him for a reason. And he goes, hey, you gave my guy downstairs, let us in your fucking film. And he was like, we screened it up in my suite. And he was like, dude, what the fuck? He was like, I really feel like, you're with Terrifier, and I like it more now. I don't want fans or anything to, go crazy with this. That's not what I'm talking about. And I love Terrifier. I love that guy. It's kind of weird too. Like when I was doing my crowdfunding, he was doing the one like for Terrifier, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so and he didn't get his money, neither did I. This is like earlier on for, I don't know if it was Let Us In, but I think it was for Strong Arm. But anyways, he goes, let me come to your booth. He came to the booth, saw the toys, everything, right? And he was sitting down, and he was like, what the fuck do you want? And what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I'm doing this film, Evil 1%. And it's kind of like Evil Dead. Like we franchise it. It's got characters, but it's a different story. It's going to be 4K and even better, more kills. And he's like, well, you need to work on some stuff. I'm thinking tons of things he's going to name. He goes, you got to show not kills sometimes. Isn't that funny? So he's talking to me, and he was just real cool. And he was like, dude, I would love to help you in any way possible. I think we could get it in the theaters too,
Wow.
And he was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. So my wife was just in shock. So when we left, I was going to say, it's so weird how much perseverance can get. Oh, and here's the other story. It's too funny. This is what's cool about him. So I had to go up, and we had to get moved to another room or something. And so my wife talked to him. Listen to what he said. He goes, "Man, I didn't give any bad advice to your husband. Or I'm sorry, I told your husband, like, I was rough on him 12 years ago." He goes, "The reason why I did that," he goes, "is because like a guy called me. I always get people showing me their movies, right?" And he goes, "I had a guy who was like a retired guy from the East Coast." And he said, "Yeah, I used my whole retirement, like 150, 200,000 for a movie." And he goes, and he's like, he flew down to meet me. He's like, "Dude, I watched it, and he was like, oh my God, it was the worst thing I ever seen." But he was like, "It
Oh
wasn't."
man.
And he goes, "So I try discouraging people. Do you know what I mean?" And he was
Yeah.
like, "Because I get it every day. I don't necessarily agree with that philosophy, but it was really wild to get some affirmation. Do you know what I mean? It was really wild from working that hard. And yeah, you know what I mean? Things can turn around, and yeah, people can change and blah, blah, blah. But I think it's important, like you said, to stick with your vision and,
Hell yeah.
be driven.
Hell yeah, man. That's really awesome to hear that, you really are making grounds and going, up slowly, but still sticking to your guns and doing what you want to do, what that you want to do, and to please everybody, including yourself. That's really, really awesome. And this was awesome chatting with you, and I want to get you on again when the next film comes out.
Definitely.
But this was awesome, and I really hope people are going to be pulling some stuff from this interview to realize, okay, I can do this now. I know what I can do, or hell, let them reach out to you if there's anywhere you would rather them reach out to you about any questions, or even to like look at merch or anything. If you want to let them know, and I can also put links down below as well for people to go and check out all your stuff.
Yeah, please do. Please do. But yeah, everybody can get a hold of me just straight up on IG at Independent American Pictures, and you can get a hold of me also. And listen, you can buy everything straight from me. We ship out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're getting like 15 to 35 packages out. I got a girl that just specifically has done my shipping the last year, and she's just right on it. So you can get a hold of me at independentAmericanPictures.com. I'm Anthony Moran. I'm also Anthony Moran. Anthony E is an Edward. Moran, Moran on IG. And my Facebook link's up there. And right when you go to IP, we don't have a link tree. I'm going to link that up. But here's the thing. I've been doing it DIY. I've been doing it so long. It's got to expand more because like I do need a link tree, but it's not that my shit isn't professional, right? Everything. I actually had a website, strongarmmovie.com, and I shut that down and had all the AP stuff. So I'm going to start a new one in independentAmericanPictures.com. I have the
Awesome.
domain. But basically, I have an eBay store. It's actually shut down the last 4 days, but that's where I sell. The majority is on IG and eBay. So the eBay store is independentAmericanPictures.com too.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to get all those links from you and whatnot, whatever you want me to put down
Yeah.
in the description. But Anthony, this was amazing. You are really awesome, true, rock and DIY to the core, and I feel that. And I'm happy we're able to link up and kind of talk about filming and hear your story and like where you stand with how you make films and just going through your whole life up until now is really, really cool. And thank you for giving me the time to do that.
Hey man, thank you for giving me time to blab because man, I just love people. I love talking about this. I could talk for hours. And I just appreciate you having me on, man. And hey, I love Salem, Massachusetts. There was always that rumor that who are they, the Parker brothers, or who has the game company out
Yeah.
there?
Yep.
I
Parker
always
Brothers.
remember state this, the stuff. You know what I'm talking about? And yeah, man. Yeah, when I was a kid, we went and visited there. And, my dad was like, "I heard there." You know what I mean? It's so fun, And I love Salem, Massachusetts. So Rebecca Nurse, the Rebecca Nurse house, and it's just so
Hell
cool.
yeah,
I haven't
dude.
been. I was like 8 or 9, so I can't wait to get out there. And cheers to everybody out in Salem, Massachusetts. Man, I love you guys. And yep, hello and goodbye from Detroit, Michigan, and Independent American Pictures. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll have all the links down below for you guys to go check out Anthony and stay up to date on what's going to be coming out. And there might be some cool news coming out after I talk to him after the show. We'll see. But
Hell
thank you
yeah.
guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, and I'll stay tuned. Like, we'll talk right after this. You can end it. All right. Yeah, goodbye, everybody.